my favorite team in the whole wide world, the New York Yankees? The answer, unsurprisingly, is of course not. But in all seriousness, I don't view things through pinstriped colored lenses. The Yankees may be the talk of Major League Baseball, and everyone's losing their minds over the fact that Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are in the same lineup. But let's slow down for a second. The Yankees haven't proven anything yet. They lost in the ALCS last year and won just 84 games in 2016. And so far in 2018, they split a series with the lowly Toronto Blue Jays and had to cancel their home opener due to snow. I know, but that's not necessarily in their control, except it was. When the Yankees built the shopping mall that has a baseball field known as New Yankee Stadium, they elected not to include a retractable roof because you know what they say, better to have to cancel a bunch of games in early April than to actually play them. What? That's it. I'm just pointing out the negatives like any objective observer would. I'm not going to sit here and gush about the Yankees. I have way more integrity than that. Never mind, I don't, but can you blame me? Think about where the Yankees were just 2 years ago. 40-year-old Alex Rodriguez was their main attraction. They had no farm system and had just wrapped up fighting their own fans over their use of StubHub. This is a thing that actually happened. The Yankees signed an exclusive deal with Ticketmaster, banned paper tickets, and their COO literally complained about poor fans getting to sit next to rich fans by buying tickets below face value. The Yankees were old, boring, and weirdly cruel to their own fans. They had no vision for the future, and their biggest selling point was pregame ceremonies they scheduled to honor past World Series teams. It's as if instead of announcing a new iPhone, Apple simply said, "Pay us $1,000 and we'll send you a picture of the iPhone 3G. Because remember 2008? Wasn't that a fun year?" Luckily, the 2016 Yankees were terrible. So terrible, in fact, that general manager Brian Cashman was able to convince the Steinbrenner family to let him tear it all down. At the trade deadline, all-star relievers Aroldis Chapman and Andrew Miller and future Hall of Famer Carlos Beltran were all shipped out in exchange for top prospects. As for A-Rod, he was released, and the very next day, 3 players were called up to the big leagues: Tyler Austin, Gary Sanchez, and Aaron Judge. Judge and Austin struggled, but Sanchez had a historic rookie season, hitting 20 home runs in just 53 games, proving to the Yankees that not all of their players had to be over 35 and making $20 million a year. In addition, the prospects the Yankees acquired immediately turned their farm system into one of the best in baseball. And in the offseason, they got even younger thanks to Mark Teixeira's retirement and trading catcher Brian McCann to the Houston Astros. In just a few short months, the Yankees had done a complete 180 as they were suddenly loaded with exciting young players, payroll flexibility, and a promising minor league system. The Yankees appeared to be in great shape. And this was before, mind you, the start of the 2017 season, when the aforementioned Judge took Major League Baseball to court, slugging 52 home runs en route to being a runner-up for the MVP. 23-year-old Luis Severino also took the league by storm, pitching to a 2.98 ERA in 31 starts, which earned him some Cy Young votes. Add in a career year from shortstop Didi Gregorius and an overpowering bullpen headlined by Chad Green, David Robertson, Tommy Kahnle, and Chapman. Oh yeah, the Yankees re-signed him too, and you got a 91-win team that, yes, fell a win short of the World Series. But now they have National League MVP Giancarlo Stanton, and their young core of Judge, Sanchez, and Gregorius, and Severino aren't going anywhere anytime soon. As mentioned, their farm system is stacked with big league caliber talent, and they have enough room on the payroll to sign Manny Machado and or Bryce Harper this winter if they feel like it. Because let's face it, they don't need either of them right now. In less than 2 years, the Yankees did what took the Astros and Chicago Cubs nearly a decade. They are well equipped not only for a World Series run this season, but for seasons to come. The reign of Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera is in the rear-view mirror, and if you're a Yankees fan, that statement, amazingly, should excite you. But before you go to Las Vegas and put all your money on the Yankees, you may want to set some aside for Vegas itself. The Golden Knights, yes, the team as old as Donald Trump's presidency, are going to the Stanley Cup playoffs. But can they make history and go all the way? Paul Ross, let's know. Let's find out.
Thanks, Brian. Why do people watch sports? Honestly, there's no correct answer. No incorrect answer either. But arguably, one of them is to be entertained. And the most entertaining thing in sports comes from Sin City. Yes, I'm talking about the National Hockey League's newest expansion team, the Vegas Golden Knights. Today is April 4th, 2018, and the Vegas Golden Knights are not only in a playoff spot, but winners of the Pacific Division and third in the Western Conference. Even though it took the team an embarrassing amount of time to sell enough season tickets, nearly a year and a half, and the infamous name and logo unveiling, the Golden Knights have defied the odds. I mean, we have to talk about odds because the team plays in Las Vegas. Odds makers believe the team had a 200-1 or 0.5% chance at winning the Stanley Cup. Nearly 9 months later, Vegas sits third in the league with 6-1 odds or a 16.7% chance to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup this June. If anyone at the beginning of the season thought this group of misfits from the league's 30 other teams would make the playoffs, let alone win the Pacific Division, they should be knighted. Pardon the pun. And should submit a resume to become the general manager of John Newton's Carolina Hurricanes, a job that literally no one wants. I'm not exaggerating when I say the Vegas Golden Knights are a legitimate contender for the Stanley Cup. The team has everything a Stanley Cup contender would need. A star goaltender in Marc-Andre Fleury, who has recorded a 29-12-4 record, along with a league-leading .931 save percentage, as well as a 2.14 goals against average. A premier goal scorer in William Karlsson, who was tied for third in the league with 43 goals, along with a league-leading +49. Additionally, players like Jonathan Marchessault, David Perron, James Neal, Riley Smith, Colin Miller, and Nate Schmidt hold down the fort as excellent role players who provide the Golden Knights with an opportunity to win every night. Again, pardon the pun. At the end of the day, this team would not be anywhere without its head coach, Gerard Gallant. A shoo-in for the Jack Adams Award as the league's Coach of the Year, General Manager George McPhee for assembling arguably the best first-year team not only in league history, but professional sports as a whole at the expansion draft. You don't have to be a hockey fan to appreciate the magic of the Vegas Golden Knights. They're for real. And ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing history, as this will probably never happen again. Although Seattle might get a team in 3 seasons. Brian, back to you.
Thanks, Paul. Seems like there's a lot of fear and loathing of Las Vegas. Stick around, because when we return, it's time to talk about America's favorite family, the Balls. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, Emersonians. I'm Peyton Lewis, the host of the Evie-nominated and Evie-losing show, Common Agenda. Last season, we may have had a midlife crisis, but this summer we really found ourselves. After some deep soul-searching and some long nights mourning our defeat, we're back here for another season of the saltiest content and shenanigans on the Emerson channel. This season, we'll dive deep into Emerson's favorite subcultures: film bros, hipsters, and other white boys with brown hair. Turn us on Monday evenings at 8:30 on the Emerson channel.
Guys, I cannot have any more ramen.
Yeah, this food is really disgusting.
These are herbal cough drops.
Well, they're better than nothing.
I have some fruit if you guys want.
Those are Skittles.
Just trying my best.
Well, maybe we can just go to the DH?
What?
Oh my god, that stuff is prison food.
Well, do you have any other ideas?
Well, I'm like starving, so like we have to do something.
Did someone say something? Hi kids, Kitchen Man here. Did you know you can tune into Emerson Channel Called Kitchen for great dorm-friendly, budget-friendly recipes?
Okay, but like what if I need to go out to brunch with my girls?
Try Taste of Boston, where we profile great local restaurants in the Boston area.
What if I only want to eat competitive chef's food?
Tune in to Sliced, our brand new competitive cooking show.
I want to watch College Kitchen.
But wait!
We are College Kitchen!
Welcome back to the Box Score. As people continue to question the NCAA and how it refuses to pay its athletes, an increasing number of players are seriously considering alternatives like the NBA G League and LeVar Ball's recently announced Junior Basketball Association. Joining me to discuss these leagues and more are Jack Aylmer and John Newton. How's it going, guys?
Hey, how are you, man? Ready to talk some hoops,
Yeah.
Brian?
All right, sounds good. Well, guys, so as I said, there are a lot of options players have now coming out of high school. Can you just kind of list some off for me? And if they're not going to play in the NCAA, if they're not going to be seen with these, top tier teams, where are they going to be playing?
Yeah, you hit it right there. There's a wealth of options. So you have the G League, which really, after the sponsorship of Gatorade coming in this year, has just absolutely revolutionized what they're able to do as an organization. You have overseas teams like we've seen with the Ball brothers going over and doing. And then, as you mentioned, you have preparatory schools that you can go to. And there are domestic options here, and the JBA could be one of those as well. We'll see what they turn into. I mean, it could just be anything.
So what exactly is the draw? I mean, talking about the G League. I mean, this was known as the D League and sounded so less cool a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
You slap a Gatorade logo on it, and all of a sudden, you see these guys going back and forth between the NBA, G League. The G League suddenly sounds like a kind of exciting place to play, and a league where there's actually some pretty good basketball going on.
There's some very good basketball, and you're talking about the two-way players. It's no longer the NBA is simply above the developmental league. Now the G League is part of the NBA with two-way players. Look at Quinn Cook, for example. Steph Curry's a little bit injured right now, so he's going to step in, probably sign a multi-year contract, fill in those shoes, and he's going to play a huge role down the stretch.
Yeah, it's doing something different that the D League did, and it's actually giving these players an opportunity to perform at the sport's highest level. So, guys, you mentioned the guy on the Warriors there, Kadeem Allen for the Celtics, for example. Kyrie Irving injured, Shane Larkin sick the other night, so Kadeem Allen steps in, gets his first NBA start of his career. Right. I mean, these guys can go back and forth between the leagues now and actually have an impact.
It's pretty interesting, and especially going towards another player, LiAngelo Ball. Another kind of route players have is to go overseas. You see him, obviously, he played for UCLA, shoplifted in China, left UCLA, and has been tearing up the league in Lithuania, and is going to come here and probably still be at least a second-round draft pick, you'd figure, in the NBA draft.
Well, let's put a Barry Bonds asterisk on that tearing up
we
there.
got to look at who they're playing. It's not
Okay.
necessarily LKL
the level of play there.
My point, though, is if a guy like LiAngelo Ball can go overseas, just pretty much completely skip over college basketball, is that going to be another way for players to break through, is to take a season, go overseas, make headlines, be a superstar over there, and then come back here and make it to the NBA?
You know what? It could be. It could be. So you have a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, for example, who grows up overseas. He goes through the overseas programs. And he eventually ends up in the NBA. Guys can take a different route to that, and that's what LiAngelo's kind of experimenting with. The Balls have all the eyes of the world on them.
What a family.
Yeah, they could go. He could have played anywhere he wanted to, and people would be watching his games because there's a market for him and his family right now. I don't know how that's going to work for younger players who maybe don't have the same clout in their family as the Balls do.
Yeah.
So you have to take that in consideration. If I'm going over to Lithuania, is anybody going to actually watch my games?
Right.
You know the overseas teams are going to love it, though.
Yeah, overseas teams are going to love it. So
yeah. Well, speaking of the Balls, I just want to touch on this real quick. The JBA. This thing that LeVar Ball's doing. All he does are these weird, unexplainable things. Can you just talk about the JBA? Is this going to take off? Are players going to jump ship and just go after the money that $10,000 a month he's promising?
Some are going to have to go at it. There's no... It's not even worth discussing. Like, some of them are going to go for this. It's going to happen. No idea how great it's going to be. The biggest thing we have to worry about with the JBA is player development. Right. Of course, players can go directly to JBA and get paid, or you can go to the NCAA. But can you develop as a professional in the JBA? And in a league that hasn't played a game yet, it's unfair to say whether they can or cannot.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you touched on some great points there. Some of them are going to have to do this, and we'll see how the level of competition works, how NBA scouts kind of legitimize this league. But you're right. There are people who are going to have to do it. There are people who we've seen multiple scandals coming out from college basketball. They've been paid in the NCAA. Some players have been paid. They've received financial benefits in some sort of way. And if the FBI, with all the scandals that are coming out, is going to crack down on that more, we're not seeing those same offers kind of under the table happening, then maybe some of these players will have no other option than to go play.
Gotcha. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Really interesting conversation. We'll see where this goes in the future. But anyway, last season we discussed new rules in the NBA that were supposed to bring an end to tanking. But as Tyler Mashgori tells us, tanking in the NBA is still alive and well as teams are in a race to the bottom.
The hot talk around the NBA this season is that injuries and general fatigue might impact the Warriors' chances at a championship run. Whether or not you believe that's the truth, NBA teams are fighting harder than ever to secure 8 seeds in a conference. Despite the Western Conference being as competitive as it's ever been, the bottom 6 teams are well out of the competition. Teams like the Mavericks, Suns, Kings, and the Grizzlies have all been accused of tanking practices like benching star players, over-resting players who are injured, and even trading away all-star talent to teams for returns below market value. It's almost like there is an inverse bell curve of quality, well-assembled NBA teams and a garbage heap of inferior rosters. These tanking teams buy into this ideology that if they aren't the best team, they should just quit on the year. Some teams have been planning off-season transactions years in advance. Just look at the Lakers. They were talking about signing Paul George 2 years before his contract was up. Now, there isn't just one team that is walking to the number 1 overall. There's at least 6, all vying to be the worst team in the league. They are all tanking their seasons to go after the same prize, one that isn't big enough to share. So what happens when you spent the whole season trying to be the worst team, intentionally losing games, fans, and revenue to wind up getting the 6th overall? At this rate, teams are going to be tanking for years trying to get the best players they can in an effort to someday be good, which is effectively the same as mortgaging your house to buy scratchers. In fact, draft positioning is determined by lottery. Teams are literally gambling away their seasons for a chance at getting a player that might be good. And not to mention, this is assuming there are can't-miss prospects, the franchise-altering players like the Sixers managed to snag, and Embiid, Simmons, and possibly Fultz. Imagine getting the 1st overall after years of tanking and you get the next Kwame Brown. At least the tank then becomes automated. Besides, think of the teams that are at the top of the standings. The Warriors, Celtics, and Raptors all built through the draft or acquired picks and assets naturally over time. I'm not saying that every team is capable of doing that overnight, but it's a good example of remaining competitive and instituting a system to work around instead of just blindly tanking to try to get the perceived best player in the draft. To put this into a bigger picture, as it stands now, football is the United States' most popular sport. There are fewer games and more room for lesser teams to compete. Basketball is 82 games in a season, and before the halfway point, most teams know they're out of the playoff race. This causes them to give up and start preparing for next season while operating under the fallacy of their increasing chances of winning the number 1 overall. With tanking being legitimized in the form of the young 76ers core, franchises are calculating ways to lose and still pretend they are competing in an effort to sell tickets. As long as these practices exist, basketball, my favorite sport, will always suffer in its quest to be number 1 in the U.S.
Thanks, Tyler. Now, for a look at who's hot and who's not, here's Evie-nominated Katie Ree. Katie?
Thanks, Brian. Let's start off with our first hot topic. A champion was crowned on Monday night with Villanova cutting down the net for the 2nd time in 5 years. The Cats tamed the Wolverines 79-62 in a spectacular fashion. They went 35-4 in the regular season with 14 out of their 18 conference games, resulting in a W. They continued to dance through the tournament, beating Radford, Alabama, West Virginia, Texas Tech, and Kansas. And we can't talk about this year's March Madness without talking about Loyola Chicago and their incredible run in the tourney. With the unwavering support of team chaplain and now icon throughout the college basketball world, Sister Jean, Loyola Chicago fought their way through the tournament with an unexpected but amazing run that ended sadly with the Ramblers' carriage being turned back into a pumpkin following their loss to Michigan in the Final Four. And everyone expects there to be upsets during March Madness, but I don't think anyone expected reigning champions UNC to go out in the 2nd round. I mean, come on. They didn't even make it to the Sweet 16, which is why they're ending up on our not list. The Tar Heels had a disappointing 26-11 season despite being ranked 3rd overall in the ACC, 5th going into the tournament, and 2nd overall in the West. They just couldn't capitalize on what were supposed to be quick games over 15th-ranked Lipscomb and 7th-ranked Texas A&M. But alas, the Heels got spanked, falling to the Aggies by 21 points, and the rest is history. For our next hot topic, we have the Fighting Irish women's basketball team. The University of Notre Dame women's basketball team was the silent but deadly assassin of the tournament this year. They snuck under everyone's radar despite having a 34-3 season. And while this topic pains me as a UConn fan, we must talk about it. The Fighting Irish defeated my Huskies in OT to go on to face Mississippi State in the finals. They finished off their perfect tourney run with a buzzer beater from Arike Agumbawale to bring the Fighting Irish to a 61-58 victory on Sunday. This marks the first championship for the ladies in 17 years. And what is now known as Sandpapergate has amounted to one of the worst sporting scandals in Australian history. Batsman Cameron Bancroft was seen tampering with the ball during a test match against South Africa. He rubbed the ball with a yellow piece of tape hidden in his pocket, roughing up the ball on one side. Ball tampering is certainly not new to cricket, but this particular instance was caught blatantly on camera. Head coach Darren Lehman stepped down as a result of the fallout from the scandal, and Cricket Australia has since removed captain Steve Smith and vice-captain David Warner, stripping them of their titles and banning them from play for a year. Cameron Bancroft was also barred for 9 months. Sounds a bit like the NFL. Well, can't win them all, boys. And now let's end on a high note, shall we? There's an NFL prospect defying the odds, and his name is Shaquem Griffin. Griffin had amniotic band syndrome, a congenital birth defect which caused him to lose his left hand at the age of 4. Shaquem lit up the NFL scouting combine, clocking 4.38 seconds in the 40-yard dash, making him the fastest of any linebacker in the history of the combine. He then put up 20 reps in the bench press using a prosthetic on his left arm. He wowed scouts at the combine, all while wearing custom cleats that read "against all odds." According to his scouting report, he's projected to be drafted in the 5th or 6th round, but will attend the NFL draft after being invited by the league. Hats off to you, Shaquem. And that's all for Who's Hot and Who's Not. Back to you, Brian.
Thanks, Katie. We have to take one last commercial break, but don't go anywhere, as we'll be talking baseball and making a major announcement about the future of the box score. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Aaron Kinigsberg, host of EIV's The Dish. Tune in every Friday for your chance to see what kind of bow tie I pulled out of my closet today.
Maggie, did you print out the scripts yet?
No, that was your job.
Maggie, oh my God, I do it every week.
No,
I told you this is the one
but we
week I
talked
didn't
about
want
this.
responsibility.
Okay. I need to pick my wedgie.
Oh my God, look, they got us slushies.
Brian, freeze.
Oh my God, we're here.
He's queer.
Now get used to it. Come on, give me my mic. Mic me. Hi, I'm Christian Mudrick.
And I'm Maggie Morlack.
And you're watching Real Reactions.
On the Emerson channel.
Welcome back to the box score. We're nearing the end of this episode and the end of season 5, so let's go to the bullpen to close it out. Joining me once again is Jack Elmer, and for the first time in a semi-serious segment, the box score's technical executive producer, Richard Fielkow. Major League Baseball is back, and to celebrate, we're going to play the good old numbers game of over-under. It's pretty simple, so I'm cautiously optimistic Richard will get the hang of it. Anyway, let's jump right in. Guys, Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are in the same lineup with the New York Yankees. People are saying they're each going to hit 50, 60 home runs. Over under 100 home runs for both of them.
It's so hard to pinpoint, what amount of home runs a guy's going to hit. I mean, Stanton goes over the past 2 seasons, hitting like 27 each year. He explodes for 59 last season. So absolutely ridiculous. If they were on the same team last year, they would have been over 100 home runs. I'm going to give it to him this year. Stanton's not that old. He's getting into his later 20s, but still had that power. You had David Ortiz hitting 40 home runs at age 40. So there are guys who can continue the power as the years goes up. I'm not worried about Stanton's age, and Judge is just at the beginning what I think is going to be a really special career.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd love to argue with Jack on my first, discussion, I have to agree. I mean, you're seeing Stanton, who hit, 59 home runs last year?
Yep, yeah.
And now you're putting him in Yankee Stadium, which is a sandbox. I mean, the guy's going to hit, effortlessly. Granted, he did strike out 5 times, last week or something, but that's besides the point.
I think Yankees fans will boo him into submission?
I was about to say, I think it's possible that Yankees fans boo him to the point where he has no interest in playing the game anymore.
I don't know. He's got a very thick skin. My thing with Stanton and Judge is I actually am going to take the under. I think Judge is going to hit a disappointing amount of 40 home runs. And I think everyone's going to complain and say he had a bad year. I don't see him replicating last season. Even as a Yankees fan, I think Judge is going to have a great year. I think Stanton's going to probably hit close to 50, if not more. I think they won't crack 100, but at the same time, again, I keep hearing this debate, and it's like they're going to have a great lineup. It doesn't.
Yeah.
If they hit 100 or 99 combined,
That's the absolute truth. That's the absolute
anyway, moving on to the Yankees' rivals, the Boston Red Sox. They've been an awkwardly really good team the last 2 years, but come playoff time, they've been the worst team in the postseason the last 2 years. They got swept by the Indians and got embarrassed by your Houston Astros last season.
That's the truth.
So is this the year, guys? I'm going to set the over/under at 4 postseason wins, meaning they actually win the ALDS this year. Is that going to happen? Are they going to see another ALCS finally?
Okay, so here, I'm going to start this one because I want you to disagree with me
you
right
got
here,
it.
all right?
Go for it.
Under, okay? And,
Ooh,
and here's
all
my
right.
reasoning. Here's my reasoning, right? JD Martinez, big free agent move. Paid him a lot of money, okay? The most of, I think, any outfielder, one of the most of any outfielder in the
It was
the
a big
free
deal.
agency. It was massive. Fenway Park resembles very closely to my Houston Astros Minute Maid Park because obviously we ripped it off of Fenway and made it better.
Right.
That's a different argument. All right. The whole thing is that JD Martinez struggled greatly, only was good in a change of scenery. I think he is the X factor, and as so long as I do not think he will produce, I don't think he's going to do well. I don't think the Red Sox are going to do well. I don't even see him in the playoffs.
Really?
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Those are some harsh words. I think, look, the Red Sox are, you're right, an awkwardly good team. And they have been awkwardly
They're
good
just
for
good.
a while.
They're not even
you know?
like that special. I don't know.
They're in a weird middle ground. So, you have David Ortiz and his whole farewell tour, and you're right, you get swept by the Indians, acquire Chris Sale, and you win a game. So there's some improvement there, right?
Right.
Some improvement.
In 4 or 5 years, they'll be in the World Series.
Right, you trade 2 of your top 5 prospects and you win a playoff game. So great. But I think that the addition of Martinez as well as Bogarts and Betts and Jackie Bradley Jr., I mean, it's a whole team. It's not just JD Martinez coming over. It's a slew of guys that have made this Red Sox team good throughout the regular season, but they just haven't been able to capitalize on it in the postseason.
I don't mean to point just to JD Martinez's potential terribleness. I'm talking about the potential terribleness of the entire team symbolized by JD Martinez.
I think the Red Sox go either way.
All right.
I think they could jump off a cliff or win 5 postseason games. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to win 5 postseason games.
To the cliff.
Let's do it. Could happen.
All right. Well, anyway, moving on. We got to go over to the National League now. Let's go over, still back to New York, the Mets. This team coming off a 92-loss season, but they had a busy offseason, and many believe that as long as they're healthy, they'll compete with the Washington Nationals in the NL East. So do you guys buy that? I'm going to set the over-under at 82 wins for the Mets. Are they going to be over 500? Are they going to be a playoff team?
I've been the optimist today, so I'm going to go with the over. Look, they've never had all of these pitchers healthy at the same time.
Right.
Steve Matz, Wheeler, Syndergaard, Harvey, and DeGrom, those guys have never all been healthy at the same time.
It's crazy.
It's an insane starting rotation, just absolutely phenomenal. So if those guys can stay healthy, and they've just been a team plagued by injuries, so health is key for them. I think those 5 pitchers, though, can get you to plus 82 wins.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think there's one question as far as the rotation goes, and that is kind of Zach Wheeler. All right. I really think that he's kind of been lackluster. He has the potential to do really well, but I think that overall, if you're pointing to that lineup, he's the one that needs to step it up. I mean, Harvey needs to regain, but he's the one that needs to step it up.
Harvey needs to be the Dark Knight, honestly. I'm going to take the over as well.
Exactly.
I'm taking the over because, as you said, as long as they're healthy, and I'm just going to bet that they are. I don't know. Maybe if they're not, then they're going to fall below that 82-win threshold, I feel like. But
I betting on the Falcons in the 2017 Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I like the Mets. I like their offseason additions: Todd Frazier, Adrian Gonzalez, both former huge sluggers in the National League, and of course Frazier with the thumbs down with the Yankees last postseason.
Didn't exactly give you what you
I know
wanted.
the Astros won.
Can we
whatever.
thumbs down to like every single New York team in existence?
Let's not. Anyway, so finally,
showed your bias a little bit. I know you're new at this, but there's a little bit of a blatant bias there.
Anyway, so our last over/under, we're going to be talking about the NL Central. The Chicago Cubs appear to have a stranglehold on the division, but I think people are sleeping on the Milwaukee Brewers. Guys, they had a huge offseason: Christian Yelich, Lorenzo Cain. We'll set the over/under on them. Second place, the NL Central. Can they win the division?
You're about to see my bias here because not only am I a
Here
Houston boy,
All right.
I was born in Milwaukee, so here we go.
push. I'm not saying that they're going to take over the Cubs. I think the Cubs are going to regain, what they had.
Sure.
I mean, did you see the catcher?
Lucroy?
No, not Lucroy. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Regardless, the Cubs are in better shape than ever, and I think that they're going to run away with.
For the Cubs.
No.
Cubs
They're going to
catcher.
run
Okay.
away. They're going to run away with the outfielder. That's my bad.
The
They're gonna-
outfield.
The outfield. Okay.
The outfield. Yeah. Anyway, getting back on track. Milwaukee Brewers. All right. In the matter of minutes during the offseason, they acquired easily top three.
Yep.
Top three outfield. I mean, I cannot name two others that are better. Yelich is in line for a top 10 MVP season, if not this next. And he's under the Brewers' control for a while. Lorenzo Cain, phenomenal. He was actually did you know that he was a part of the Brewers team, and they traded him to the Royals for Zach Greinke?
Yeah. You got all the all
Yes.
the facts.
When it comes to the Brewers, nothing
What
else.
say you, Jack?
I'm going to agree with him. I think it's a push. I think that the Cubs have, like you said, too hard of a stranglehold on that division to go ahead and overtake them. The Cubs had some losses with Arrieta. They filled that with Yu Darvish, so a little bit of a push-pull situation going there. I'll give him a push.
It was
though.
Schwarber.
Schwarber,
Schwarber's who I'm
Schwarber,
thinking
Kyle
of.
Schwarber.
That's my bad.
Exactly. I mean, the Cubs are just loaded. So as good as I think the Brewers got, and I'm with you there on the outfield, just phenomenal. They're definitely a top three in baseball. It's not enough to beat Chicago just yet.
All right. Well, Jack, thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to kind of send you off now.
Yeah, just
and,
off into the wilderness.
Yeah, have a good off season for the box score.
Exactly.
But before we go, Richard and I have to make a big announcement.
That's right, Brian. This is our last episode as executive producers.
Yes, it is. But don't worry, because the box score isn't going anywhere. And in just a few moments, we'll be announcing the show's new executive producers. But before we do that, Richard, what's been some of your favorite memories working in the box score?
I have to say, as far as, I spent my 3 semesters here. I transferred to this school, and I was fortunate enough to find this program in my first semester. And to be able to executive produce it for 3 seasons has just been a wonderful, wonderful journey. Just the people I've met working in control, working on as cast, it's been such a wonderful experience, and I really cherish it, what it's been able to give me. And hopefully I've been able to give back an equal, if not close enough amount.
Close enough, I'd say.
Okay, all right,
But
I would've said
no,
less,
really,
but-
it's been so much fun. I love how much of a family the box score has become. We're a show. We come into the studio, we do our work, but after that, we're still hanging out. We're still having fun.
Exactly.
Just kind of building a really close-knit community and just a bunch of people who like sports and who thought we'd find that on Emerson College campus. And the crew is incredible. The crew is fantastic. The best crew. No, sorry, I was terrible. The talent, though, also phenomenal. We were just nominated for an Evie for Outstanding Television News Program.
we were. 2
of our episodes were. We're very proud of that. And it's been an awesome experience and something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
I think family's the absolutely the key word. It's truly been a family environment. There's not one person on this crew or talent who I feel I'm not at the very least friends with.
Yeah. Look at the prompter. Got some more information to drop on.
Well,
on the audience.
That being said, it's time to announce the next technical executive producer of the box score, Victoria Rashi.
And the next creative executive producer and host will be John Newton.
I'm excited to see where they take this show. I think that we've really, throughout the 3 hosts, especially the 2 that I've had the opportunity to work with, you all have had such different styles, and I'm just very excited to see where John and Victoria take this show.
Oh, absolutely. They're just amazing individuals, and they're going to do a great job. And just can't wait to see what the future of the box score has in hold. But I think that's going to wrap up season 5 of the box score. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to our incredibly talented cast and crew who work so hard to make this show the best it can be. For all of us here at the box score, for technical executive producer Richard Fielkow, I'm your host, Brian Danuff. Good night.